put information about ourselves on our Facebook profiles, and some of us even make videos on YouTube. But what happens to that information after we're gone? We may say to ourselves, "This, my profile is me." But what we choose to put up there is an unconscious act of identity management.
Ronald B. Adler et al. State that self-concept begins to form at the age of 6 or 7 months and develops over time to the point where you can manage your identity. For example, behaving a certain way with your boss and a certain way with your family. Mathilde Machevsky of the University of Victoria says, because physical and local identities can be hidden in online spaces, youth could conceptualize multiple identities and interact with diverse groups of people, as well as engage in roles they might not be provided with in their on-ground lives.
That's the reason why you'll have like flame wars and blogs and stuff like that, where people will just post whatever because they know that they're safe. No one's going to physically harm them. Same thing applies for, in a sense, for Facebook profiles, in that people want to, or will either go out all out and they'll put whatever they want on their Facebook, even if that's not really how they would be. Like maybe they'd be more shy in person, or they'll just want to put their best self forward. The version that's on Facebook is how I've had it described to me by some participants in my research as a proxy of yourself.
Look at your Facebook profile. Look at your YouTube channel. Is that how you want to be remembered? Chances are you will be remembered for exactly what you put out there.
This is the first time that we've had mass involvement in the production of the self. The self in the past, our identities in the past, for the vast majority of humanity have been ephemeral. We come and go like the grass, wither and die and fade. But now what we have are 1 billion people participating in digital media and leaving billions and billions of bits of themselves out there. And a big question is, what will happen to these bits of ourselves after we're gone? So we've never had a society where the mass stays. What we've had is a society where the bits that stay are the wealthy, the kings, the queens, the gods. Those are the bits that have stayed through time. Now we're moving into a future where there's billions and billions of bits of identity, digital traces of ourselves, and we're not there.
According to a Harvard doctor and social scientist, Nicholas A. Christakis, what these new online social networks provide is an outlet to express two very ancient human desires. The first is to connect, and the second is people's desire to express grief.
Sites like Facebook and YouTube provide us familiar representations of those we know and love, so if they pass on, it can make the process easier for us. John M. O'Brien, Carol Goodnow, and Olivia Espin from Michigan State, Tufts, and San Diego State Universities, respectively, say that coping with the loss of a friend made death suddenly very real for those famously invincible adolescents.
Amanda Williams and Michael Merton of Oklahoma State University say that adolescent grief may go through random yet recurrent episodes of grief, feeling intense emotions for a brief period, and then returning to a sense of normalcy that is disrupted when some event or experience triggers emotions related to the loss. Given that adolescents are the primary users of social media, this description fits within the practice of writing on someone's Facebook wall. When you want to connect with someone, you write on their wall, and sometimes they write back. Facebook allows us to continue this process even after they're gone.
Williams and Merton also say, posting commentary online allows multiple users to talk about their feelings and experiences, and express grief in ways that might all feel comfortable in face-to-face situations, as they are simultaneously expressing grief.
Most adolescents have a strong sense of immortality. They feel invulnerable. They don't think they're ever going to die. And so to lose somebody close to them is oftentimes extremely difficult because it taps into that. It fights that defense where you think that it's going to last this way forever. So I think that everybody who grieves, regardless of your age, needs to have a process, needs to have some rituals help. Oftentimes they have to be personal, and they're always culturally specific. And so one of the things that's interesting in what's happening culturally is this is really the first generation of young people who's distinguished from their prior generation less by music, less by entertainment, and more by technology. So the social networking movement, which has really become a very significant part of youth culture, it would make perfect sense that that would also be a place where people begin to establish rituals or processes to help people mourn.
Interacting with people on Facebook and YouTube remains the same whether they are living or dead, as long as the profile still exists. You can always write on someone's wall or respond to someone's video. Counseling director at the University of Missouri, Marita Barkis, states that young people today have always communicated with their friend electronically, so when the friend is gone, they continue writing to them online.
This goes to show that the internet is what communication theorist Harold Innis would call a time-biased medium. It acts as a permanent collection of information and cannot be destroyed by external factors and thus lasts a long time.
The fact that online social networking profiles were self-created while the person was alive ultimately makes them better than obit sites like Legacy.com or MyDeskSpace.com, which can only be created after someone's death. Facebook and YouTube were created by the person while they were still alive, making it an easy switch in terms of communication practices. It's like the difference between talking to a departed loved one at their gravesite and talking to them to yourself as if they were still alive.
However, in some cases, the family of those who have passed on wish to remove their loved one's profile. In general, when the family wishes to remove the account in question, they must provide proof of relationship and an obituary. In Facebook's case, the family will be given the choice between memorializing the account, which makes sure that their loved one won't appear in search results and allows access only to the person's friends, or deleting the account altogether.
On YouTube, a family member must also provide a document that proves power of attorney or a birth certificate if they were the parent of a user who was under the age of 18. There is a 30-day verification period afterwards. It seems that YouTube fiercely protects the content of all channels and does not offer the service of deleting the accounts of the deceased. The family member with the power of attorney must do that manually on their own. There are reasons why this might be a preferable option, specifically if the media was misused.
There's also opportunities for misuse and for bad things happening within that. I read recently about a case of a young girl who was 13, was bullied and committed suicide, and even they put up sites in which they continued to bully her past death. That probably isn't healthy, and that's probably something that feeds a continued intimidation, bullying kind of culture that sometimes exists some places.
A person's wall, like a person's profile itself, if you start writing on it and it's up for a long time after they pass away, it can get a little creepy, I guess. I mean, just in terms of that person's personal wall. Memorial pages is a different thing, but as far as the wall, I think that Facebook has an obligation at one point to shut a page down, especially if they're given a request to do so by the family, because out of respect for the family, I think they should do that. And I believe, I'm trying to think back, but I believe I've heard that they've been requested to do that in the past, and they have done that in the past. My understanding is that they should continue that practice because it's obviously, out of respect for the family, they should be able to at least deactivate the account and shut it down as much as possible. In terms of memorial pages, that's a whole other story. I think that that's a really cool practice that can bring people together and help maybe in the healing process. Because what I've found through my research is that Facebook is this new tool, this new means of socializing that people use every single day, and it's like this new phenomenon that people use. So in life or in death, it can have value.
Regardless of whether or not the families choose to keep their loved one's profile up, there is the possibility that the user could have intended to leave their online footprint behind. This is especially evident with YouTube, effectively an online archive for recent history's amateur filmmakers. YouTube's channels are more of a house for a body of work, but they still show a part of the person's life and allow people to visually interact with the mourning period.
Stringler, in his book Watching YouTube, says that the authenticity and rawness of amateur video diaries have been described by John Corner as a form of punk television. Video diaries forgo sophisticated forms of storytelling and production so as to be more real. The popularity of such practices has created an immense community instinct, which was never more apparent this past August.
YouTube user Esther Earle, username Cookie4Monster4, was very active in the YouTube community, helping the Vlogbrothers, Hank and John Green, and the rest of their fans raise money for the Harry Potter Alliance, a non-profit human rights charity. Sadly, she passed away at 16 from the cancer she had had for the majority of her teenage life. What would become her last video closed with an expression of love.
A few days after her death, John Green announced to the YouTube community of her passing, and there was an outpouring of grief. There were over 40 video responses and over 4,000 comments on this video, one video in particular simply being a girl staring at the camera and crying, because what else was there to say?
If there's any real-world evidence of Marshall McLuhan's global village, it's this.
People from all over the globe uniting in one cause, as if they were part of one community.
Once again, the internet has brought us closer together, but this time it isn't. That by its very nature, it has given us a means of creating a permanent